Welcome to the Investor Financing Podcast, where we interview real estate investors and lenders so you can learn all the secrets to getting your projects funded and scale your portfolio. Learn about fix and flip loans, BRRRR financing, rental, fix to rent, commercial, multifamily bridge loans, business loans, and so much more. And now, your host, Beau Eckstein.
So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Adrian Hernandez. I got into the industry. I was 19 years old. My parents and my uncle were in the industry, and then my whole family became real estate agents and loan officers. So I got into the industry pretty young. Started selling. I was actually an assistant. From an assistant, became an agent. From an agent, sold 35 properties when I was 24 years old. 25, flipped my first property. 26, did my first wholesale. And so what I've done is I've taken the retail side, working with buyers and sellers, and I've just combined that with wholesale and flipping. Now we have a wholesale team where we have a disposition manager, we have acquisition manager, 2 acquisition managers, and we just brought on a junior acquisition that I'm super excited about. So starting to grow the wholesale side, still flipping, and then now I'm really making, and we'll talk about this today, making a big push on the retail end for buyers and sellers. So I think that's going to be huge, especially in my market. I'm in South Orange County, for those of you that are curious.
Love it. So what areas do you cover? Because you cover a pretty wide range. Where are you, kind of talk a little bit about geography, like what markets are you in? I know you have a core market and then your secondary markets. Share with the viewers that part.
Yeah, so for retail, for buyers and sellers is here in Orange County, so all of Orange County. And then I grew up in Rancho Cucamonga, so that's where my business originated. That's where I sold from 19, 20, 21, 22, all the way to 25. That's where my business was being built. So I still have a lot of past clients, friends, family. So Rancho Cucamonga to Inland Empire is where I work with buyers and sellers. And then, of course, the surrounding markets. For wholesale, it's California, Los Angeles in specific, Inland Empire, and then we also have, we do Ohio. We just pulled out of Texas, and we're just starting to launch some new campaigns in what we like to call Hotlanta.
Hotlanta, baby.
Hotlanta.
ATL.
So are you just wholesaling mostly out of state then, or is that flips?
Yeah.
Too?
So wholesaling out of state, we were flipping in Texas, in Houston. We had great success in Houston. I was flipping in Arizona, pulled out of Arizona. What I've learned is there's a lot in our backyard if I can just focus here. So we're not, I learned a lot. There was some very costly lessons that I'm still going through by going out of state, by going in areas that I didn't have the right people, the right contractors, the right connections. And as much as my coaches, Ty, other people were like, dude, be careful. Sometimes you just got to fall on your face on your own and figure it out on your own. And that's what happened.
Yeah, I love it. And that's very authentic, the way you share that. The other thing, too, is that something we've talked about and something I would just want to share with the viewers is that, you know, when the market has been red hot like it has for, let's call it the last 3 to 5 years, depending on where you're at, here in California, the market's been really, really hot, right? So, like, it's been a seller's market from 2013 to basically 2019. It's been a market where it's been incredibly competitive. So a lot of my friends, a lot of people like Adrian, people we know, guys, high-level wholesalers, what they were doing is expanding out and going into other out-of-state markets, expansion markets or expansion teams, things like that. They talk about in some of the Keller Williams offices, expansion teams and things like that. That does make sense when you're in a highly competitive seller's market. It's interesting because now that the market's contracting in 2020 because of COVID-19, we're of the mindset that it actually makes more sense to really be deeply entrenched in your local markets, and then maybe the secondary markets where you're at. So, like, for myself, I'm in the San Francisco, Oakland Bay Area. I'm halfway between Sacramento and San Francisco. I work basically the East Bay, we'll call it. I was working the whole entire Bay Area, all of Sacramento, Central Valley, even into Southern California. But now as things shift, this market I'm hyper local, really, really focus on my 2 or 3 main counties, and then maybe doing a little bit here and there in some other counties. But really, I think as the market shifts and starts to contract and slow down, I think you want to be hyper local focused. What are your thoughts on that, Adrian?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And don't fall into the shiny penny. And this is where I got it from, right? I started seeing a bunch of people going out of state. I started seeing a bunch of people talking about cash flow out of state. And I instantly gravitated towards that without necessarily not necessarily following the rules that I typically follow, stretching myself too thin. It may look nice and shiny until you actually get there to realize I could have done this in my backyard. I didn't have to go that far, right? And then for those flippers and wholesalers, if you are going to go out of state, make sure there's enough spread in that deal to where it makes sense to go out of state. To where, okay, if I got to fly out there, I know I'm going to earn $250,000 off this one deal. That makes sense, right? If you're running on tight margins, that's going to be difficult.
I love it.
I just brought on Corey. Corey was from the Bay Area. Now he lives in Savannah, Georgia. Yes. And he's a big wholesaler there, and really impressed with him because he was one of those guys that was everywhere and like wanted to learn. And now I think last year he did over 20 deals. And I really respect the fact that he dug his heels in and like just grinded away. And now, he's just going to keep on leveraging and build it. So, Corey, what are you doing today to get leads? What's your big off-market strategy?
Wow, yeah, I was just listening to you guys, and Beau just sent me a message and said, jump on in, so I appreciate it. We do, my thing with marketing, I learned from some of my mentors is like, the way I look at it is kind of like I'm down here in the deep South. I'm in Savannah, Georgia right now, and everybody knows about gumbo. And I always ask people, if shrimp, sausage, and, rice was not in the gumbo, would you call it gumbo? And I think marketing is kind of like gumbo. You have to mix certain things together to make it actually work. I remember when I was putting out bandit signs, I spent all my money on bandit signs, and then I heard about direct mail, and I went all in on direct mail, and I was like gung-ho on getting a deal from the direct mail campaign, and I spent way more money on the direct mail campaign than I did the bandit signs. And somebody had my number for like 4 months, and they called us, and that came our first like deal in Oakland. And so it was just like, that was an eye opener where I'm like, it's not just one thing. And so we do cold calling, we do text messaging, we do ringless voicemails. We're, picking up our Craigslist and Facebook ads and, just talking to people, really like the whole Brent Daniels thing, and just really a mixture of all that stuff. It creates momentum and builds up a book of business to be able to see deals a year later, 6 months later. And then the biggest marketing campaign probably is the follow-up. And now that's something I'm working on myself, is trying to get better at automation and all that craziness that goes involved with all that. So, but yeah, it's
so Corey, that was great. Thanks for adding that. Now, what are you struggling with that you want to ask Ty and Adrian right now that, they might be able to give you some good insight? What's one thing in your business right now which would take you to the next level?
I think setting my business up to be able to take on flips. So we do a ton of rehabs and then taking those flips and turn them into burrs. So just having great relationships with people like Beau and building up the way that we can set ourselves up with bankers and hard money lenders. Because right now I think that's a big deal where we can take down some of the assets that are coming our way.
I love it.
Huge.
So Adrian, can you talk on that, Adrian? Because I know you started wholesaling after being an agent, right? And so then you transitioned more into flipping. So I think, how'd you start raising money, and what tips for Corey do you have?
Yeah. So, well, first and foremost, Corey, dude, great job, man. I love what you're doing out there. You tell vibrations you study your craft, you're mastering your craft. So, dude, just shout out to you. I love seeing people doing what you're doing. What I would say, and what I did, mind you, I'm just going to speak from what I did. I partnered on the first few flips that I had. So I didn't do any of the flips on my own. It wasn't until my fourth flip that I actually went in and did it on my own. I teamed up with contractors first. I teamed up with other agents that had hard money connections. And then once I was able to close that deal, and then I asked them, hey, do you mind if you make the connection, right? We both made money together. We're both excited about it. And then I get a personal verification, like a personal referral. And I noticed those lasted the longest. My advice is team up with somebody. Team up with somebody already doing it that has those connections.
Yep. I love it. I love the gumbo analogy too, by the way. I want to ask you, how did you pick Savannah? Like, so do you have family there, or how did where'd you live in the Bay Area, by the way?
I lived in San Francisco in Lower Pack Heights, and I came from Savannah, so I grew up here and was raised here, and so I just came to a lot of meetups in the Bay Area, and I started telling people I was doing stuff out of state, and people just started hounding me about rentals and how they wanted to do real estate, but just the Bay Area was just a little more daunting, on their pockets and stuff like that. So that's kind of like why I chose it. And then my mom was waiting tables down here, and I wanted to join her, help her build out something for her retirement, her and her husband's retirement and things like that. So, it was just a kind of all worked out.
I love it. So a couple things that I would just share too is just to kind of, I love the whole strategy. So like if you are out of state, which you are, I love that you always want to have like real solid boots on the ground. And I love, because like Michael Zuber is an example. He's been a guest. He's one rental at a time. Great guy to follow, to learn from. I love his attention to detail. He says that with your boots on the ground in that market, is this somebody that would attend your funeral? Like, like the kind of connection, like somebody that you grew up with, somebody that you were a fraternity with, somebody that that you're really, really connected, a cousin, an aunt, an uncle, a family member, or just a true brother, in spirit, somebody that, that you can really depend on. So that's a big thing, I think, to look at. I love how you went back from San Francisco back home. And I love the whole real estate gumbo. In fact, I think you should do something with that. Like, I don't know if you already are, but you should literally, like right now, pull up GoDaddy and get that real estate gumbo URL, the domain, because I think you should do something with that, because I think it's super clever and it makes sense for, your marketplace. But man, I think definitely having all the different marketing, the calling, the TTP, the SMS, you're doing mail, all of it. I think you always have to be doing different strategies. And specifically, I think, for someone to grow from like 20 deals to 50 deals, you probably have to go from like 3 strategies or 3 systems to like 5 systems. To go from 50 to 100, you might have to go from like 5 to 8 systems, as an example, different channels of generating business, but also make sure that you're just always paying attention to your numbers, what's your spend, what's your ROI. So if you spend $1,500 or $5,000 on mail, how much money came back in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? What was your true ROI? So that's what I look at, and whether it's PPC, direct mail, telemarketing, whatever it is, like just always constantly be measuring and looking at your numbers of what's really bringing in the most money, and, and scoring them. This is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. I think too, like I just hear so much good stuff about Savannah, Atlanta. I know nothing about it. I've been to Atlanta. It's fun. I love the people, love the culture, love the scene. But I don't know anything about it, but it's definitely, that's cool, man. I'm glad to get to know you here, and definitely would love to connect with you more.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Nothing I would say, Corey, pick up, so sorry, Beau.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, pick up the book called Burr by David Green.
I have that. I'm reading it right now. I wish I had it right here. It's in my bookshelf.
Yeah, so that book taught me a lot about what Ty was going over and what you asked, and he even breaks down. He gets pretty deep on the systems, so dive into that. Make that like a good manual.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's not give David Green too much credit. His ego will get too big. He actually is he's really good at like telling stories. I mean, he's such a, like when you talk to him in person, he's just incredible when it comes down to that, explaining things. He's really good. So of course his books are really good too.
Yeah, no, David's a beast, man. I love David, and definitely. I love it, Corey. Corey, right on, man. So what, how many deals, how did you see just kind of like we got you here, man. Stay on for a minute if you can.
Yeah.
How did you see like COVID over the last 60 days? I know your state was progressive and said, hey, we're going to go back to normal quicker than most of the country. But what did you see? Like, so what happened from January to March and then March to June? Like, what did you see in the market, the shift, the mindset of the consumer, the sellers? What did you experience there in Savannah, Georgia?
Yeah, so from the beginning of the year, just like probably a lot of people, I set my goals and was like, I'm about to crush 2020. And the first quarter, we did pretty well. We did like about 11 to 12 deals in the first quarter, and we opened up our Jacksonville market. And started doing a ton of marketing in Atlanta, and just been on the phones and everything. And then when COVID hit, I was actually in Puerto Rico, and had to leave a little bit early. And we had an office, and I seen everything that was going on, and I decided, I got my mom and another person, Joy, in the office, and me and my fiance Monica. So there was 4 of us, and I just, our lease was going up, and I made that decision because, listen to everybody. It was like, hey, cut your expenses. We're getting ready to see 2008. I moved to San Francisco in 2008, so I didn't really understand. I mean, I knew what a recession was, but I also was around some top players in the Bay Area. And one of the things they said was, what recession? I'm really not going to participate in it, which meant it was a mindset thing, so I knew sales does cure a lot of things, but I had just transitioned. I was got a new virtual assistant. So I was in the middle of training her on marketing. So our marketing kind of slowed down, and we were focused on just cold calling. And we took a hit. So during COVID, I don't think it had anything to do with COVID. We did have a couple buyers that, took a step back. And then me and Beau had a conversation in our group, the second, mortgage, industry and all that kind of stuff. It pulled back a lot of buyers, and people got scared. So I think it was more of like a cold feet. People were just at a frozen, like, what am I going to do? And so right now, as we speak, we still have properties that we're pushing. We still were locking things up, getting them in contract with the intention of either closing on it ourselves, so raising capital for it, or just pushing back the due diligence and letting sellers know, like, hey, we don't know what's going on. We just want to make sure everything's all good. So we had a rougher quarter for COVID, during the COVID, but I don't think it had a lot to do with like COVID, because sellers wanted to sell. It was more, my marketing was not out there the way that it should have been. It was a big lesson for us, where it was like, don't slow down on your marketing. Yeah. And when my virtual assistant actually slowed, when we let her go and I had to get a new person, it slowed things down because I was in the middle of training that person. And so understanding, the spreadsheets and blah, 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 data and all that stuff. But no, and then on top of that, COVID added to it, where, buyers were like, look, I'm focused on this strategy. Some of our buyers were actually like, hey, I'm out right now, because we are in a hospitality city. So that we have tons of buyers that focus on Airbnb, short-term rental stuff. And this city is known for the historic, features, and people come here just for that tourism. But we have a lot of other industries too. And then, but at the same time, people are still having babies. People are still getting married. People are still having their dreams to own a home. And we're in a market that's 200,000 under, And so people are moving here from New York, New Jersey, California, all over the place. I probably met more people from New York here than I have all over the place, because of the fact that we are a very, rental here is like, $1,000 a month is our medium rent.
Wow.
And you can get a whole house that with that. So, and then also we just kind of adjusted our buyer pool. We talked to a lot more rental people that were buying for rentals. So that didn't slow things down for them either. So people that have $200,000-$300,000 in cash, or with hard money, they can buy a $50,000 house, $70,000 house, with $1,000 a month tenant in it. So that's just, it just is really good. So
here's my thing. Let me interrupt here, because this is what I think, and because you're talking to two guys that are both investor agents. And last time I got on the phone with Corey, I was talking to him. I'm like, either you, your mom, or your wife, what you guys, because you gotta be the houses you're not getting into contract, you should be listing, or you should have somebody in your team where you're making that revenue. You should be. These guys both have, high six figures here, high six figures there of income from their traditional business and their investing business. So they're two different businesses, but they align themselves. So guys, why don't you talk on that to him and kind of give him an idea, maybe if he doesn't want to be the agent, or maybe how you would set something up, because I think he could add additional, six figures if he just did that.
Go for it, Adrian.
Yeah, absolutely. And Corey, it's really just being multidimensional. I mean, you're already multidimensional in your wholesale. You have the wholesale, you have the flip, you can go to development. And then what about the retail? When they say, well, that price doesn't make sense. Maybe you're not the one listing it, but maybe you can get an agent on your team who does list it. You can still be the owner of the company and get an agent that works under the actual company itself. You can find an agent that you refer business to, get 30, 40%, or well, let's say 20, 30% for just basic referral fees. Same thing out of state. When you come across somebody out of state where the price doesn't make sense, what are you doing?
We're either passing it on to another agent or just letting it go to another investor.
Strong. Can you refer that? Is there a way that you could still get yourself involved? Is there a way you could still be a middleman somewhere to at least pass the ball and get 10%, 20%? Just an additional dimension for what you're already doing.
Right. Yeah. We can set that system up for sure.
Right. How do we get more out of what we already have? Right. It's a question I ask myself. How do we get more out of what we already have? If I'm looking at my business the way it was and I didn't get any new business, how can I squeeze more out of what's there? But in a giving way, right? Not in a taking way. So, Ty, what else would you say to that?
No, I think everything there is spot on. That's everything I was going to say. I want to go back to your original thing you said about buying properties and aligning yourself with lenders and that. I would just say just also get everybody in your inner circle bankable, meaning that, your girlfriend or fiance, she's, if her credit, getting her credit scores, whatever, so she can borrow and buy. Your mom, your family, you know what I mean? Your mom, your dad, whoever, your inner circle, get all of them bankable. If they're already bankable, then great, you're ready to go. But I would say that'll give you some leverage to where now you can do some stuff with, family members, whatever, even, you know what I mean, and have that opportunity to maybe, grow that way. So just for long-term buy and hold, right? At the end of the day, as much as we flip, wholesale, broker, develop, whatever, at the end of the day, who ends up the wealthiest? It's always somebody that has a portfolio, right? It's the guy or gal.
You're listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. We'll be right back after this break. Are you looking for funding? Are you getting frustrated trying to find a lender? Visit investorfinancingpodcast.com and click the Get Funding button. Complete the simple form and schedule a free phone consultation with one of our placement specialists. We have a proprietary directory of funding partners that can help you get the funding you need. It's fast and easy to explore the options available for your specific needs. Don't wait. Visit investorfinancingpodcast.com and get connected.
It's been buying and holding. Our friend, Thatch, Corey? Thatch Quinn?
I don't know, but I know of Thatch.
You follow
I don't know him
him
personally, yeah.
Yeah, follow Thatch and get involved with Thatch and anything you see Thatch doing, because he's an old school buy and hold guy. He's very, very good with his money, although, the images might confuse you because he's driving nice cars and all of that. But trust me, him and his wife are incredibly thrifty and smart with their money. They're not wasteful at all. And they're very, very conscious and, very good at tracking and things. So just in being bankable and all the things that we're talking about now. So I wanted to go back to that because I think that's an important point. I kind of skipped over it, but it just came back to me. So hopefully that helps, Corey.
No, that helps a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks for jumping in. Appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon.
Y'all have a good one. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna hit you up, man. I'm gonna hit you up. I want to know more about Savannah. I want to know more about Savannah. So
absolutely. Thank you, Beau.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
All right, man.
Later, brother.
So, Beau, I want to go back to you, and I'm gonna flip the script a little bit. I'm gonna go to you, Beau, because I know you do out of state. I feel like sometimes we talk about out of state investing and people kind of poo-poo on it. I believe in out of state investing. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's just you have to have the setup, and again, I think it really goes down to the core boots on the ground. But tell us kind of your perspective on out of state, because I know you're still doing some stuff with out of state, and
Sure.
still think it's good. So walk us through the positives on it.
Well, yeah. So, I think that, where else can you buy a house be all in at $15,000 on a house? And it has a decent tenant that pays you $630 a month. Where else can you, swipe a credit card and buy a house? The Midwest, right? And so, the Midwest isn't going anywhere. You're not going to get crazy appreciation, but in those markets, right, it's not as competitive. Well, in a lot of the submarkets where I'm at least, where if you have capital and you have off-market marketing skills, like you have a good Investor Carrot website, people just come to my website. I don't even do anything. I just organically kind of ranked it, and I haven't been doing pay-per-click. Even if I did pay-per-click, you could literally be buying tons of houses. So it goes back to being able to find a team. So you got to first find a really good property manager. But I think to build your baseline cash flow, it's an easy way to start, and then from there you get into multifamily. It's like what Vinny Chopra does. He goes into a market where there's huge job growth. He buys an apartment complex, bumps rents. The property goes up $5 or $6 million. He sells it. His investors get a huge return. He makes 7-figure checks, right? So for me, I don't, how much cash flow do you need to replace your lifestyle? And I don't really have, a desire right now for fancy cars or anything. So my lifestyle is pretty cheap. That's why I moved to Nevada. So the key is just adding cash flow. And when I looked at it, it was really easy to kind of go, okay, I could be all in this house for, $40,000 and it's worth $80,000, or, all in at 50 and it's worth 80. The spreads are there on the value add component. And then anything I buy. So my basic way of looking at it, if I'm all in at 20,000 purchase, 20,000 rehab, I'm in at 40, I need to get 2x that in gross rent. So I need to get 800 in rent. That's kind of my rule. And I have to have at least 25% equity. So then, and then you can finance them many different ways. You can pay cash. You can use, people's retirement accounts as your bank. And so, but the question I come to is, how many house doors do I want to own? That could be, if I own 50 of them, that's a lot of headaches. Although you have a manager, my ideal situation is that I get my property management statement every month, and that's the extent of what I have to worry about, that and making sure the insurance and the debt, the mortgage is paid. And so if I could do that and ring in 20 or 30 grand a month, that's a pretty good business right there itself.
Yeah,
that's a winner. No, that's a winner for sure. Yeah. I love it.
Beau, are you flipping out of state also, or is it just buy and hold?
Just buy and hold, because I don't have a team that's capable there. But honestly, that's if I were to tell you what I'm an idea guy. I mean, I've had a lot of ideas, but what it comes down to is that I need a implementer in this business, because I don't really want to be, grinding with people and having to talk about, fixing the house and grinding people to get things done. But I mean, tomorrow I could implement a program to get deal flow the next day, and then so that's what I like to do. I don't necessarily like the details. So going forward, I think it's just, strategically buying stuff that I know won't give me a headache, and then finding one really trustworthy person there.
Have you read Rocket Fuel?
No.
Okay. Have you read Rocket Fuel yet, Adrian?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So it's interesting that we're talking about this, and I don't want to digress on it, but I want to just throw it out. And that I had read Traction, the book Traction. I had read the book Scaling Up. And honestly, all it did was kind of confuse me and frustrate me a little bit. And then it was interesting talking with Pace Morby. He had said, and it was like one of those kind of between the lines. He wasn't even really advocating it or talking about it the way I'm talking about it, but he said like, hey, everybody should read Rocket Fuel. And Rocket Fuel's the book. It's by the same author as Traction. It's Gino Wickman. Yeah. And actually, Gino's dad is Floyd Wickman, who was like one of Mike Ferry's best friends, and was a speaker, and like an OG real estate coach for realtors. Floyd Wickman.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, Gino is his son. Gino wrote the book Traction, but the book prior to, the precursor to that, is the book Rocket Fuel. And what Rocket Fuel talks about, and I haven't finished it, I'm still in it, and I stop and rewind and go back and listen, but all Rocket Fuel talks about is kind of like what you just said, Beau. It's the solution to what you just said, which is you've got visionary and you've got integrators. Visionary and integrators, the VIs, the V, the visionary, the I, the integrator. And the idea is that you have this constant, it's a marriage and it's a partnership, whether they could still be an employee in your company or a subcontractor or whatever, but you're coming together with somebody that basically complements and can handle the other side of the business. And so I'm literally in that book now and figuring out, okay, that's why my business with certain team members and certain things didn't work out. I would highly recommend that, not just to you, Beau, but to all of our listeners to really, go deep, because I think that's for scaling and building a team. And, even if a team is just you and another assistant, or it's you and just one other person, or even in your spouse or your relationship, it's really important, I think, in the dynamic of relationships to really understand that visionary and that integrator. So what are your thoughts, Adrian?
Yeah, Rocket Fuel was huge. It didn't click for me until I went to Business Mastery. And Tony talked about there needs to be an artist, there needs to be a manager, and there needs to be an entrepreneur, right? Very similar to what Rocket Fuel is. And not to confuse anybody, but in essence, it's that I just want to say this. A lot of people think we can do this all on our own. Like I know when I was young, I'm like, I can do this all on my own. I'm the artist, I'm the manager, I'm the entrepreneur all in one. And it's all good until it's time for you to actually be the implementer and go out and do it when you're so used to just being the entrepreneur. So it's first and foremost understanding, know thyself, right? Understanding who you are. And then once you can figure out who you are, what I did is I just made a list of all the stuff that I know I'm not good at. And then I found as Howie was saying in Rocket Fuel, I found the implementer that can implement that stuff that I'm bad at. And that's what Tony talked about at Business Mastery. When he went through that, it's like the manager needs to be responsible for doing all of that. The artist needs to be responsible for drawing out your ideas. And you're the entrepreneur who comes up with these ideas, who's consistently taking time out of their business, and not how do I make it grow, but how do I get better at what we're already doing.
Love it. Love it.
So. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'll definitely get that on Audible. So what are you working on now? Like, where's your focus? For the next 6 months. What are your goals? What are you implementing?
Yeah. So, and we talked about the title being pivoting, right?
Yeah.
Pivoting back to the basics. Like that's the theme that's going on in my head right now. Pivoting back to the basics. So what are the basics? Well, right now the market's starting to change. The market is we're starting to see the activity come out. We're starting to see listings you can't keep a listing on the market right now if priced right, depending on where you're at. So knowing that, how do we get back to the basics? I'm asking myself, what skills do I need to improve? What basic fundamental skills do I need to get better at? What basic lead generating ideas do I need to go back to? Rather than trying to get complicated and pivoting, I need to get fancy here. How do I just get back to the basics? Because that's what this market is showing. From my opinion, everybody has their own. From my opinion, it's showing the basics, so let's do the basics.
I 1000% agree with you. And so it's interesting because Adrian and I talk every day. So we're in an accountability group. We're in multiple. So you're in the mastermind group with us on Thursdays, which is a smaller group, Beau. But we also have every Monday through Friday, we have a prospecting group. And this group is all about telephone prospecting. So every day we're in this conversation. And in fact, even we do a little kind of at 9 a.m., we do a little, I don't want to call it a sales meeting, but we just kind of a preparation and intention for the day. And just share some tidbits and things, kind of like current events and what's going on. But what's happened is that we're sharing information on these daily calls, And then what we found is that people like are hungry for more. And so kind of like back to your point is I think right now, based on the way that the dynamic of 2020, I think for anybody out there, you've got to be focused on 30-day chunks. I don't think you fall in love with a 6-month or a 90-day business plan. I think you can set some goals and have some intentions. I want to do this by the end of the year, 6 months from now. I want, the third quarter and the fourth quarter to look like this. I think you can set some intentions there. But the truth is that what I'm, everybody I'm talking to and just kind of in general, that's a 30-day business plan. And it's very, very simple. It's okay. What's right in front of me? What am I going to do, over the next 4 weeks? And specifically, how many days am I going to work? And this is all stuff we learned from Mike Ferry. Mike Ferry is the godfather of real estate coaching. Tom Ferry is right there with him. It's his, Tom Ferry has great material as well. Those are two of the real estate coaches that I always, I've worked with both of them as coaches, guys that I look up and respect. And all of this came from, Mike Ferry. Even if somebody else acts like they invented it, they didn't. It came from Mike Ferry and then Tom. But anyway, so point being is that 30-day chunks, it's like focus on what's right in front of you. And then something that Adrian and just I hear obvious, Adrian says this all the time. Tim Grover says it all the time. Control the controllables. Control the controllables. There's so much shit around us. Excuse my language. There's so much stuff around us that's out of control. But what you can do is you can control the controllables. Things like what time you wake up. Do you go to the gym? Do you work out? What do you eat? Beau, great job. Beau's been committed. He's been on this program, this diet and this program, nutrition program, that he's been following certain types of workouts. Control the controllable, your diet, your workouts. What time do you get to the office, or what time do you start in your home office? All of those things, how many contacts you're going to make, how many people you're going to talk to. That's controlling the controllable. And so kind of back to like kind of the question of how do you pivot for the next 6 months or for the rest of the year? I think you got to go back to the basis, and it's old school. I'm on the phone 3-4 hours a day, prospecting, making cold calls, doing all the lead follow-up, all the stuff that, got me there. The same stuff I did when I was brand new 26, 27 years ago. Same stuff that if somebody new comes to me and says, hey, what should I be doing? What activities? I'm doing those activities myself. I'm not just telling you about it. I'm actually engaged in doing it. What are your thoughts, Adrian? Also, just kind of take off on that, on these points here.
Yeah, no, it's just super, super spot on with what you're saying. Like our accountability group, we're just talking about the basics. And what are we doing? Role playing and getting on the phones. We all know this is a numbers game, right? We all know that. We all know if this is a numbers game. So let's just keep it simple and go after that, the numbers game. Play the numbers game. And as Ty said, chunk it down. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? How are you going to chunk down your goal for the rest of the year? One bite at a time. And if 30 days stresses you out, go a week, go a day. Ask yourself, what can I do better today than what I did yesterday? At the end of the day, assess yourself. This is one thing I do all the time. At the end of the day, I just ask myself, what can I get better at tomorrow? What are the basic things that I can get better at tomorrow? Is it pausing? Is it just taking a quick second? Is it realizing I need to get on the phones versus watching Netflix?
Yeah.
It's a tiny little adjustment, guys, that we have to make at a time like this. It's the basics. We're talking about the basics.
Yep, all day.
So here's a question that came in from Chris, and he asked if you are a year into your real estate business, it sounds like he's an agent, but you want to get into flipping. Would your money be better placed with a coach learning more about the business, or dive into flipping and learn on the fly, assuming you're flipping with somebody who already knows what they're doing? So I'll answer this first because you're already a real estate agent, it sounds like, Chris, and it sounds like you have somebody that you can partner with that's already flipping houses. I don't think you necessarily have to go get a coach right now. I think what you could do is it in the evening, you could be plugging into podcasts and different things and like just listening to what people are doing, because there's a lot of free stuff. I mean, we bring this show on. There's a lot of shows, right, where you get high level people that are willing to share with you for free. So first, take that in. Are coaches good? Yes. Coaches are good. Yes, they definitely are. But I think where you're at right now, you have a real estate background. Partner up, squad up, as Ty likes to say, And then like the important thing is too is when partnership's not always the easiest thing. So you want to find the right partner. You want to make sure everything's in writing and so forth, because a lot of partnerships end badly. But assuming you find the right partner and you lay it out right, that's the best way you can learn. I mean, to walk the properties, to watch as these tradesmen are fixing the property, to learn, to make a couple of Home Depot runs when you're first starting out. Eventually, you don't want to be the Home Depot run guy, but sometimes you just got to get shit done. I think that's the best way to learn.
Yep. Spot on. I would say just exactly what Beau said, and team up with somebody. I had a very similar question, Chris, and then I made the decision to just dive in and learn. But I didn't take the flip on by myself. I took the flip on with somebody who knew what they were doing. So the way I saw it is that because mind you, I found the deal and then I took it to somebody saying, hey, I got the deal, let's partner on this. So the way I saw it is that 50% that I just handed to them was like 50% of coaching. It was 50% of me learning the entire process, getting to know the contractor, getting to know what they look for. And I did that a few times until I got very comfortable to do it on my own. And even now, I'd much rather just partner with Eddie and call it a day.
Yeah. So, too, and I'll add in there, just I think, the one thing that that was asked, the question was a little loaded, that, do you need money? If you have money, do you spend it on coaching, or do you use that money to go flip a deal? The truth is that, the whole magic in flipping in a deal is finding the deal. So it's all about finding the deal. The real magic and the secret sauce is being able to go out and find the deal. And then everything else is really important too. Like, you got to be able to have the money and all that stuff line up. But, if you find it, the other parts are a lot easier to assemble around it to find the deal. And that's where I would say the magic is. So, do you join coaching? I think coaching's really important. I think it's a big thing. And I think if you can afford it, you do it. I also think if you have the resources, I know a lot of offices, a lot of support networks, things. I know, there's a lot more resources today than there were a year ago, or even 5 years ago, or 25 years ago, right? You literally had to join coaching to do that. I'm not against coaching either. I just think that, like, if you do sign up for coaching, you need to be able to afford it. I mean, that's a big deal. I see people join coaching as a magic pill. And the truth is, I see people that don't have the work ethic or the real desire, and they just need to get off their you-know-what and go to work. And then they could afford coaching and all, and everything else would come together. So I see a lot of people join coaching because they think that's going to be the magic bullet, and it's not. So the real thing is get out there and find deals. And if you find deals, then you can partner with people, align yourself with people, in that. So what else, Adrian, please? I
do want to say also the money you guys, so a lot of us think we'll get $50,000, right? We'll have a great month, we'll have 50 grand, and we're thinking, okay, I'm going to use this money to go invest. Ask yourself a question. If I lose this money, am I okay with it? If I lose this money, am I okay with it? So if you're not okay with it, go earn more money until you can say, yeah, I'm okay with it. Because I'll tell you guys, there's risk in flipping property. Beau, how many stories have you heard of people losing on flips?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've personally lost on flips. I mean, if you're in the flipping business and you have never lost on a flip, I mean, you're extremely lucky if you're doing a lot of volume.
Yeah, I agree. Or you haven't flipped enough property to figure it out yet. So what I would say, guys, is make sure you're okay with that loss before you go and put your money up. A lot of us, when am I going to get my money back? Is it going to close yet? Are you almost done yet? All that's going to do is bring negative energy to the deal. That's not going to get you anywhere. So I'd highly advise, guys, just be careful. If you're going to go jump into a flip and use your money, cool. Just be okay with the risk. Be okay with the reward. Look at both.
Yep.
I've done a decent amount of flips, not a ton, but I would say a pretty good amount. And what I can tell you is that what I've decided is that I don't really like flipping houses, but will I continue to flip houses when they arise? I'm not like out there with an active flipping business right now. But what I prefer doing is to hotel, basically get them, close, and then trash out and then sell them retail. I think that's, for me, is a model that makes sense for me. Other than that, I'm a buy, fix, and hold guy going forward. I don't enjoy flipping, so why should I do it, right? Unless you have systems in place and build that team, you got to figure out what works the best for you. Like Ty prefers to wholesale primarily, right? Because it's fast, and you don't want to wait 5 months and go through the whole. Some people don't want that, and if you're spending 5 hours on this wholesale deal versus spending 300 hours on a flip, and you're making 20 instead of 80, isn't that 20 grand better per hour, right? So
yeah, it took some time for me to understand that, Beau. That's such a great point. Took some time for me to understand that. I hope you guys were paying attention to what Beau said, because that was big. Thank you.
Yeah. And so, what I run into too is that I get this kind of like silver object syndrome, and then I'm like, well, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to buy this, I'm going to take this program, I'm going to take this class on how to. And then what happens is I get so much like where I feel like I need to do so much that I don't actually do any work, right? And so going back to what you said is going back to the basics. Like what I decided is yes, I'm a licensed agent, yes, but my core like money making activity is originating, commercial and bridge lending or loans. So you go deep with that, you make money, and then go when I get those big checks, sorry, I cut out for a second, I can go pay cash for a $40,000 duplex that pays me $2,000 a month or, whatever, right? And then how many times do I have to do that to get to my cash flow goal? That's kind of like how I simplified everything for myself.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I think too, just, knowing the audience a little bit and just kind of the questions and who watches these is that, you want to be excellent and outstanding in your core business. Like, so whatever your core business is, you want to be excellent and outstanding in that business before you start to venture and take on a second business or a third business or, that kind of thing. So I would always encourage that and always just state that. So if you're a real estate agent or a lender or, even a wholesaler, like you want to be excellent at that, where you're kicking butt, you're making money, things are going so well, and then now you're going to venture into this, add this other thing onto it. I think that's really important. And no, spot on. I think there's so much opportunity. The thing too that I'll just share is I know we're probably coming close on time, is that this is a tremendous opportunity to go out and not only make a difference for your family, but everybody that you talk to, people that you're coming across who are in distressed situations, sellers who are uncertain, they're fearful. What do they do in the market? What is the market doing? Should I sell? Should I, I'm thinking of moving out, moving out of state, whatever they're doing, you can be such a blessing to people. And I just think that, first and foremost, coming from that place, I think we all want to really take that on. And I just would say that right now, because we're talking about mid-year review, I just want to make sure that I get my thoughts out here as we're wrapping up. This is the time to double down on work. This is the time. If you make 2 hours a day of calls, you want to make 4 hours or 6 hours. You want to go hard. You absolutely want to go hard at this, because right now we had a shift 75 days ago, 60 days ago, the market changed. Now all of a sudden things are lifting. You're going to see a lot of people want to do stuff. People that are going to move out of state, move closer to family, people that are going to, whatever they're doing. People are pinned up right now. People are anxious and wanting to do stuff. So there's going to be a tremendous opportunity. And this is the difference that you can really go out and make a difference with. Your thoughts on that, Adrian?
Now's the time, guys. Who cares about what happened the last 6 months? What I mean by that to your production. Who cares about what your production looked like 6 months ago? Who cares about where it's at today? Just ask yourself, where do you want it to be tomorrow? And get into action today, guys. What's the date today? It's June 9th. It's June 9th. We have less than 6 months to go. We have less than 6 months. What can you do between now and the next 6 months to catapult you into 2021? There is nothing we can do about what took place, but we can control the controllables. And that one controllable is what you do today, what you do tonight. You may have to do some replacements. You may have to replace what you were doing with prospecting. You may have to replace sleeping in to getting up a little bit earlier and working on your craft. You may have to replace longer lunches with just staying a little bit extra. You guys, I say this often, and I know this is like a cliche and we hear this all the time, but the only thing that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary is that extra in front of ordinary. What are you willing to do extra that nobody else is doing right now?
I love it. I love it. Hey, Adrian, tell them real quick about, and then I don't even know that Beau knows about this, but tell them, like, we're doing the accountability group. We're doing role plays and scripts and dialogues. Tell them a little bit about the mastermind and where they can get information on it. Like,
yeah, so
mastermind. So
real quick plug. So we've been talking about sales training. We've been talking about the basics. What we realize, guys, is that, like, there's a lot to I don't say there's a lot, but there's an underlying layer to the basics. Sometimes we don't have enough time to go through that. We have questions, even on this one call. Look at how many questions we have. So what we're going to do is Ty and I, we're teaming up with Joe D. Raffaele. For those of you who don't know who Joe D. Raffaele is, he's just a lightning sales master wizard, right? And in essence, what we're doing, guys, we're going to go deep into the basics. It's free. We're not charging anything. This isn't a coaching company. This is just a mastermind.
Wait a minute. How much does it cost?
$0.99. Yeah. It's free, guys. We're not charging this. What our intention is to create the most elite, powerful mastermind that's revolved around just teaching the basics, guys. The stuff that catapults us when things aren't going well. The stuff that we have to switch over to when everybody else is getting fancy. The stuff that actually moves the needle forward. So if you guys want deeper knowledge into what we've been talking about, we're going to be releasing that, and you got to go to squad-up.com. So that's my shameless plug.
Is that are you going to also, will that be applicable to just real estate investors or just mostly agents?
All the way across the board.
Okay.
All the above. And so also too, like, Beau, tell everybody we might as well talk a little bit. Like, so just so you know, Beau runs an incredible real estate investment club in Walnut Creek, California.
Yeah.
He does the meetups. He does the bar camps. He does all this cool stuff. And are you making a lot of money off of the podcast or off of these Facebook Lives, Beau? Is this like, are you charging a lot of money when you do those events?
No. I mean, once in a while we charge for the bar camp because we got to cover expenses, but pretty much it's a not for profit. I mean, literally, like these calls that we come on, I do it for I would say I'm selfish because I get value out of doing this because it motivates me, right? Because when you're locked in your office, 10 hours a day, where you have those ups and downs. Like some days I get out of my office, I just spend 10 hours sitting on my ass and I felt like I haven't accomplished anything. But then I come to a call like today and I'm like, shit, I'm like fucking motivated now, right? I hope Facebook doesn't bleep that. But so I like to do that stuff. I like to be around people. And sure, what happens when you do this kind of stuff organically, shit happens. People call me and say, hey, I know you're a lender. Hey, I know you buy deals. Hey, do you have a referral? Right. So organically you create a referral, system and so it the more you give, the more you get. And so that's what it's happened over the long term of doing this. I mean, I have like right now I'm building out a platform for mortgage brokers where they can learn how to broker like hard money and they can broker commercial loans. I have all these, lenders that will actually show you how to broker those type of deals to make people money. So I love doing stuff like that. I love the idea of it. I got a software guy helped me build some like a kind of like a deal analyzer that helps you underwrite loan requests. So, I'm excited about that. And, I'm going to continue doing events. I'm going to continue networking with you guys. I'm going to jump into your squad, because I know personally, like the one thing I can say is that, I'm not, I have a lot of good things here. I've got a lot of good things I want to do, but I haven't yet, fulfilled my, prophecy. And really when that comes down to it is being able to like kind of like shut things off, go tunnel vision and make those phone calls, right? Or make those like those calls and just take action. Because I spend so much time sometimes like in a day where I'm dicking around and it's like I get distracted. I look at my Gmail, my Facebook. What am I actually doing for business, right? And then I go, oh, I'm tired today. But if somebody was looking from the outside and was like, shit, you're not really doing jack shit, dude. You think you are. So I need to really be able to kind of like, get my head in the mindset. So I know your group is like going to be so geared towards what I need that I'm excited to. And I think I'm proud I'm proud that I know at least what my weaknesses are, because, you know, I look at guys like Thatch and I go, okay, well, Thatch is older than me, but he's not that much older than me. And that guy's balling, right? And like, what did he do to get where he did? He freaking paid the dues. He knocked on doors 10 hours a day. And to be honest with you, I don't want to do that. Like 10 hours is a little extreme for me, but in my own way, from my desk, how can I knock on doors 10 hours a day, right? And leverage, you know, my brain power with, you know, leveraging others to help me implement these things. And so that's why I'm excited about, you know, the group and continue to do what I'm doing. So thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you, Beau. So Beau is a go-giver, and that's the thing. And Beau is a go-giver. He's somebody that shares. And so that's kind of, you know, it's the theme or whatever. Like, we can call it whatever. But what we want to do is we literally want to have the biggest, baddest, kick-ass community, real estate community. Not only that, not just real estate agents and brokers and lenders. We want that. We want brokers, lenders, agents. We also want wholesalers, flippers, rehabbers, long-term buy and hold guys, syndicators. We want the biggest, baddest real estate community on the planet. And that's what our goal is. And it's not, right? Clap it up, baby. I love it. Yeah. So it's not about... like for us, it's not, we're not pitching coaching or anything like that. We're not against coaching either, but that's not what our format is. This is not a coaching platform. This is where we can network. Like Beau said, like he gives away and gives. So of course, naturally people are calling him, you know, if you need hard money, if you need commercial lending, any kind of lending, talk to Beau. That stuff comes back to him. So we're here to promote and uplift people. We want to have the biggest, baddest real estate community on the planet. And so if you're interested, go to squad-up, squadup.com, squad-up.com, or squad-up.com, right? So that's where you can opt in. We're going to be doing free masterminds. It's a recurring thing on Wednesday. It's open to everybody. We just want people that are contributors. We don't want takers. We want people that want to share, learn, grow, be a part of a community, give, and lift up everybody around them. And what else, Adrian? Jump in here. Help me out.
At the end, there's going to be no hard pitch, guys. We're not going to get you all the way there and then be like, stay, because we want you to buy a $99 program. That is not what we're here to do. We're going to do what we just did now. We're going to, and really, shout out to Beau, because I actually went to the bar camp last year, learned a lot, got to network with a lot of you guys. So Beau, if you can keep us updated on the next bar camp, that would be great. We can get a bunch of people to go down to that. And in regards to the mastermind, guys, if you can, for those of you that sign up, just do me a favor, post on your Instagram or your Facebook, just simply squad-up.com. Don't say anything, just squad-up.com. Just want to start to make a little noise out there, but we're going to need your guys' participation.
Love it. Close us out, Beau. Great show, buddy.
Cool. Hold on. I'm just signing up here. Okay.
He's signing up. I love it. You got to go and opt in at the site, though, because that's how you get the link, because we're not just posting it. It's a private meeting. We only have so many seats. We have more than enough, but you've got to opt in order to get the link, because obviously we want to, we're building a community here. So go to the site, squad-up.com. Go there, join us. We'd love to have you. Come learn. Joe DeRaffaelli, Joe D, my good friend, our great friend, Joe, is going to be sharing. We're going to be talking about skill sets, about selling, about just systems, stuff we talk here about, but it's going to be in a Zoom call format to where we can actually interact and do a lot of Q&A and actually deal with real things that you're dealing with in your business and sharing as a mastermind, as a community.
Yeah, live role play calls, live objections. So tune in, guys. Again, we will not have this on Facebook or Instagram. You have to have the link. And to have the link, you have to go to squadup.com. Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited for that, because, quite honestly, that's my missing link is the prospecting part. So that's exciting. I'll put this up one more time so people can see the link. And Yeah, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Great show today. I'm super motivated. And shameless plug, if you need money, call me.
Thanks Thanks for listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. For show notes and useful resources, please visit investorfinancingpodcast.com. For questions or comments, email info@investorfinancingpodcast.com. If you enjoy our show, please share it with your network. Until next time.